The following is brought to you by the Starfleet Podcast Network, SPN, The Spin. BigJ's Beef! We're going to talk about Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 3, called Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. I have quite a big beef with this episode, but Nacho, I want to hear your opinion first. I think you know what I'm going to talk about, the whole thing near the end of the episode. Like, everything was okay until, I think, that point. And there's a whole lot of bullshittery that happened. Do you agree with that? What do you think of that?
Honestly, I just thought it was a pretty good episode and got into depth into a character we don't really focus too much on.
You talking about Lon Singh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's what I didn't really like about it. So this is going to go back there's going to be kind of an explanation a bit going into this one. So, you know, the eugenics wars happened in the mid-90s, right? And Khan was the leader of that. Now, I don't recall right off the top of my head when he was born. I want to say original Canon probably had it around, I'd have to say 1960s, because by mid-90s, he'd be in his 30s. So I think, conservatively speaking, that'd be about right. So what happened in this episode is there was a Romulan agent that ended up getting stuck on Earth. And the whole purpose for being there was to try to slow down humanity's progress in getting to outer space and stuff like that. Now, I got to tell you, I was a little disappointed with that because I am so tired of the whole temporal Cold War or temporal wars thing where someone goes back in time to Earth's past to try to screw up things. But what I wasn't really happy with here is the fact that Canon was kind of rewritten with Khan's origins, and the way they set it up was completely confusing. That's okay. It's just fireworks. Leave the window down. I don't want to get hot. Now you broke my train of thought. Okay, so basically, the Romulan was wanting to destroy some kind of like cold fusion reactor, and that plan was thwarted by La'an and Captain Kirk, James C. Kirk, because they ended up in an alternate timeline. I'm sorry, I probably should have mentioned that. Before La'an ended up on Earth, she had gone to the bridge in the Enterprise, and there had been a change in the timeline, some incursion that made it to where the Enterprise is part of United Earth Fleet instead of Starfleet. So there was a big change in their history. So fast forwarding back to what I was talking about. So the whole cold fusion destruction thing the Romulan agent was going to do was thwarted. So plan B was to kill little boy Khan. Now, this episode takes place in 2022-ish, and suddenly we're supposed to see Khan Noonien Singh as a little boy when he was already supposed to be in his mid or so 30s during the eugenics wars. And the explanation was kind of crappy too. Can you explain how suddenly this all came to be like this? Because it's made no sense to me.
Actually, now I think about it, wouldn't make sense because then he would be in his 30s by the time Saffron Codron would already make his warp technology in the 2060s.
You're talking about this new version of Khan.
Yeah, the new version of Khan, the timeline wouldn't add up because the war would then just happen around the exact same time when Saffron Codron made the warp technology.
Right. So it seemed like, and the Romulan said she had been stuck there since 1992, which was really kind of a throwaway line. Like, all right, so even you were there in 92 with okay, well, wait a minute. I guess I don't get it. What was supposed to happen in 1992? There was no cold fusion reactor. That technology wasn't there yet. And there was no Khan, even if there was going to be. There is no way in hell if the plan was, let's go back and assassinate Khan during or before the eugenics wars. How was that supposed to work? They would not have gotten anywhere near him when he was in the prime of his rule, right?
Nah, probably not. I mean, I believe they could probably get near him. All you got to do is get a bunch of phasers because he was still trapped in a time when bullets were a thing.
Yeah. Well, this is an explanation that I read from a commenter on a YouTube video about this because...
Oh, God, a YouTube video?
What's wrong with YouTube?
YouTube's just a bunch of guys who make memes or GIFs and all sorts of stuff and fake trailers. Yo, Reddit's even worse about that.
Yeah. YouTube and the fake trailers. Don't even get me started on that.
There's no facts on YouTube or Reddit.
Well, no. If you're going there for your facts or news, then you've already made the mistake.
Yeah. So there's nothing new, really. Just something. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this was an explanation I read from a commenter on YouTube was that I'm drawing a blank on the name of the episode, but you remember the two-parter in Star Trek Voyager where this guy's time ship crash landed on Earth and there were changes that were made because of the technology that was taken there in the 60s. Kind of taken advantage of. And apparently this new influx of what was supposed to be future technology increased or kind of enhanced the rise of computers, electronics, networking, and sort of pushed back eugenics or genetic research. And that was the reason why the timeline was kind of pushed because when one of the Soongs, Dr. Soong, this is in season 2 of Picard, right at the end when he was pulling out information on that classified genetic program for augments. So the explanation was kind of wasn't really given in the episode, but is apparently some kind of hand-fisted sort of best explanation we got is basically. We changed the origin of Khan. We changed canon for the original series. And you know what the reason was?
No.
Just because they wanted to. I read there was this other thing from the showrunner that basically said that they changed this stuff, and I'm paraphrasing, to kind of not stifle creativity and story writing. So essentially, it was almost literally like we changed the stuff in canon just because we wanted to. That's not supposed to be a thing, is it?
I wouldn't say supposed to. Once I'd say it's law.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not law, but you know how it is with Star Trek stuff. I mean, if it's already been established that this is a thing that happened. That was mentioned happening at this time or this point, then it needs to, I don't know. It's a mess. It was a mess. I like the whole concept of the episode and the plot to it, but they really shit the bed right there near the end. Did you like it? Are you a big fan of this whole changing of everything getting pushed up in the timeline to where now if the eugenics wars happen, if World War III happens, that is going to be a bit too close to, well, then, you know, it seems if they're gonna claim that eugenics wars and World War III still happens, and this all happens before Zefram Cochrane's flight, first warp flight, which is 2063, and right now it's 2022. Khan, well, that's when the episode took place. Khan is probably 8 or 9, something like that. Okay, so 2022, he's about 8 or 9. I would have to say that we could give 20, 30, 40, 40 years between now and Zefram Cochrane's flight if they decide not to just suddenly change that either. So I guess it kind of works, maybe, sort of. Or am I just making stuff up?
Nah, I don't think it's too big of a deal, and also makes it more flexible and a little more realistic because if eugenics war happened in the 90s, and if it's anything like our economy back in the 90s, I don't think it probably would have realistically worked out, and Zefram Cochrane had to be a teenager then if that happened.
In the 90s?
If I'm right, because he was already old by the time he made his warp technology.
Well, he wasn't that old. I'm sure that's written down somewhere. And because we're sitting here waiting to watch a movie, I don't really have the computer to look it up. But I want to say, well, you look it up. What year was Zefram Cochrane born? What is in canon? Go to Google, do birth date of Zefram Cochrane, and it'll pull up something Star Trek. Or no. You know what? No, do this. Pull up the date of birth of Khan in Star Trek. Because I want to know that first. I want to know how much they decided to screw with when things were originally supposed to happen. Because all that's going to happen is the Trek fans, they're all going to start saying, okay, well, now this is an alternate universe. This isn't the main timeline. This is something different because things are not happening the way that they were supposed to. You find it? What you got there?
It says... Oh, wait, no, it's giving me a bunch of stuff. Give me a second.
Okay. Well, we're still looking for it. Okay. No, not the Kelvin timeline, Con. Well, just make sure that it... Well, he would have been born the same time. Yes. Okay, so what to say there?
Okay.
If you can find it quick, then don't worry about it.
Late 20th century.
Come on, Nacho.
Just says that.
Born late 20th century. Okay, so there's not...
Oh, no. Khan was born or created in 1959.
Okay, 1959. So we changed his birth/creation from 1959 to 2017, 18, 19, 20, 22. No. Probably 2014, 15?
2012.
2012?
Yeah.
He didn't look like he was 10. Maybe. I don't know. Something like that. So that's a pretty big change.
I can't really bother with it too much. It was still a really good episode. And I thought the idea of it was really good, of how they needed war and, they needed the eugenics wars to progress and get out of that spot, or they would have been worse for it.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm probably making too much out of it, but...
Yeah, you're having a bitch fit over nothing. You're right.
I'm not having a bitch fit. It's true. I can't believe he just said that. It's an accurate beef. It's a legitimate beef. And I've got Nacho here, so it's like beef and nachos.
Yeah.
Beef and nachos with cheese.
That's just cheesy.
Okay, all right. Let's get out of here. I'm Big J. This is Nacho. And my closing remark on this episode was, what the
Where's the beef?
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your years. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.